You are listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report, episode 143.2, our girls basketball scoreboard for Thursday night's games in Blackford, Delaware, Grant, Howard, Madison, Tipton, and Northern Hamilton counties. Co-hosted by Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader, with guests Nick Rogers of Pendleton Heights, Ann Curtis and Emma Key of Frankton, Frankton head coach Jeff Bates, and the Herald-Bulletin's Rob Hunt.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengel.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you've chosen to listen to the Central Indiana Sports Report, you've made the right choice. Today is January 10th, 2025. It's a Friday, so it's another day for the Central Indiana Sports Report, and I can't get this bottle open. I'm your host, Greg Mengel. I will be joined very temporarily by Michelle Garmon of the Tipton Tribune and Elwood Call Leader, and by Rob Hunt of the Herald-Bulletin to talk about the Madison County Tournament. We finally got the water bottle open, and now to our local scores and our area scores. Right after that, we will have highlights from all of tonight's games, including the 4 Madison County Tournament games. It will be Pendleton Heights and Frankton for the Madison County Championship on Saturday at Frankton. Pendleton Heights beat previously unbeaten Alexandria 57-45, and the host Eagles thrashed Elwood 58-19. In the consolation bracket, LaPel and Anderson Prep will play for 5th place, and Anderson and Liberty Christian will play for 7th on Saturday at Anderson Prep. LaPel beat Anderson 53-48, and Anderson Prep beat Liberty Christian 46-41 in overtime. And Rob Hunt will be here in just a minute to talk about all of those games. The only local game outside of the Madison County Tournament was Wapahani's 48-33 win over Newcastle, the Raiders' 15th win of the year. We will have as much details as we can find for you in just a moment. Before we do that, please go like, subscribe, or follow the Central Indiana Sports Report at SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or YouTube, so you don't miss a single segment. You must do it, and do it now. As Michelle Garmon watches the Notre Dame Penn State game, we are joined by Rob Hunt. Rob, you don't really care about this game, right?
I'm watching it too.
Okay, good. All right, so we're all watching it now.
No, it's on the background.
All right, feel free to comment on the game as we talk about high school basketball. Speaking of which, the Pendleton Heights Arabians, Rob, were very impressive tonight.
Yeah, they've been kind of a team on the mission this year in terms of – did something happen in the Notre Dame game, Michelle?
Yes, they just called the safety, the All-American safety for pass interference on that play.
Oh, so it's not an interception.
No.
Okay. That's not good for Notre Dame.
There's no interference, though. I'm seeing it. There is no interference.
No interference there.
There was if the referee called it.
Oh, my gosh.
Something that Indiana high school basketball fans need to learn.
Yes, they do.
The referee called it. It was a foul.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Pendleton Heights, this is a team that's, I hate to say underachieved, but certainly they've been upended the last couple years in this tournament by a smaller school. LaPel was one team that got them the last 2 years. This is part of their mission this year was to get the county title back. They've won more than any other school. And, this was a stern test tonight by Alexandria. Alexandria gave them all they wanted, especially, deep into the third quarter. But Alec kind of went on a run, or Pendleton Heights, went on a run, took control, and kind of never looked back.
Yeah, it looked like to me that early in the second quarter that maybe Jack Hosier was the best player on the floor and might take complete control of this game. And then Casey Warfel said, no, you don't.
Yeah, the first half was just really kind of ugly basketball at times. I think there were 19 turnovers in the first quarter between the two teams. And then I think Alexandria Pendleton Heights had 16 in the first half total. That they definitely got their act together at halftime. Casey Warfel, we know what a great player she's been through her whole career. She scores 19 of her 25 in the second half. and it was I believe it was like a 13-2 run that broke them loose because it was a tie game, and they went on that 13-2 run, and they led by double figures the rest of the way.
Well, Rob, although it's a loss and Alex first of the season, this was probably a great game for them to play.
Absolutely. I didn't get a chance to talk to Mickey after the game, but Mickey Hosier, their coach, but they have to look at it that way. I mean, they're not going to run into a team that has a Casey Warfel and an Ada Hupfer and an Olivia Jones on the roster going forward at the 2A level. They're just not. Casey Warfel's special. She's closing in on maybe being Madison County's all-time leading scorer. Ada Hupfer, 6'3" sophomore, already getting Division I looks. Set a personal record today with 20 rebounds. And Olivia Jones is just a lockdown defender. What she did to Jacqueline Hosier tonight, nobody else has done that I've seen. Hosier finishes with 15 points, which is a dozen below her average, pretty close, and only made 2 field goals the whole game. And that's something we're not used to. This is a girl who scores at will, and it doesn't matter what the competition is usually. I mean, yeah, some of those games are not against the greatest teams, but she had a big game against Richmond and some of the better teams, LaPel earlier this year. So, Olivia Jones, I mean, you could make an argument that Warfel's big second half was big, Hupfer dominated the glass, but Jones shutting Hosier down might have made her the player of the game. But she scored like 7 or 8 points too.
Rob, I spoke with Pendleton head coach Nick Rogers earlier tonight. First time I met him. Here's my conversation with him. Coach Rogers, Pendleton Heights, after a really big win over Alexandria. You knew that was going to be a challenge. They brought it to you for about a quarter and a half, and then your team, how'd you like the way it responded?
Well, this being year 3 for us, we've one of the big things that we felt like we've lacked is toughness, and we tried to make some adjustments to our schedule. And I think in the years past, that little run in the second quarter, that probably would have made us crack and probably would have spiraled. And could have got to 15 or 18. So for us to kind of let them go up 7, turn around and be able to take it into halftime up 1, that's kind of a testament to our girls being able to work through, and just can't say enough how proud I am of the hard work that they put in.
Obviously, Casey puts effort into the game every time, but something a little more with Jack on the other side?
I think for sure, with those two, they both know, that they're on pace to score 2,000. They're both, trying to get their individual accolades and things like that. But yeah, both those girls, they wanted to come into this game and showcase their talents. And I think both of them did. I think both teams left it all on the floor. And, I think the biggest thing I actually cracked, speaking to the radio up there, we track hustle plays, and we had Warfel for 11, and that's multiple efforts on closeouts or anything like that. So, I think it's just some of the intangible stuff that she's able to do, and able to navigate that game with 4 fouls. Olivia Jones navigated that game with 4 fouls. I don't even know total points what Jack and Casey ended up with, but what a fun basketball game to be around. Yes. That's Hoosier hysteria for sure.
Absolutely. And what are your expectations for Saturday?
We want to come in here and we want to accomplish something that we've tried to do the last 2 years and came up short. We put ourselves in a position the first year when I had Casey's sister Whitney. We had a good group. Ran into that LaPel team that had a really good group and went to state, and they knocked us off. Beat us by 2, I think, in overtime or something like that. And then, due to lack of toughness last year, had a 13-point lead, I think, against LaPel. Gave it away. So once again, we've really tried to make ourselves better by playing a tough schedule and putting ourselves in the fire more often, and I think that's helped us get us through, and that's going to be our expectation for Saturday. We're gonna go out there, we're gonna line them up, and we're gonna compete for a county championship.
Thanks so much, Coach Rogers. Appreciate your time. Frankton won the second game, but let's talk a little bit more about Pendleton and that game. they're going to be heavy favorites now going into Saturday.
I think the probably the common belief was whoever came out of that top half of the bracket, whether it was LaPel, Alexandria, or Pendleton Heights, was going to be the favorite in the championship game, and I think that's definitely the case. But Frankton's played really well this week. Got to give them credit. They beat an APA team. Not a surprise they won the game, but they won it by a substantial margin, which was a little bit of a surprise. And then, Elwood, I know that they're still working on developing that talent there at Elwood. They've got, Braylon Norris is a phenomenal player. Kendra Salee can help him in the post. But, Elwood, they're playing with a lot of confidence. They've already got 10 wins, so they're learning. They're playing well, and Frankton really kind of dismantled them.
When I talked to Elwood coach Courtney Licklider after the game, we talked about the fact that, this was the first significant game this group, her young team has been in, for some of the Frankton kids, but, Key and Hoagland and Hammaker, they've been in because last year they've been in this situation.
Yeah.
And Courtney also said, she said she told them in the locker room that they need to stop listening to the outside forces because she said a lot of people, 10 wins, you're going to win this game, trying to tell her team that's not the way it works.
Right. And this probably felt as close to a sectional postseason feel as they've felt and that they've seen. And it's on a hostile court. I mean, Frankton's home fans are here, so that was a tough environment. But I could tip my cap to Courtney Licklider, and I do it every time we get a chance to talk about Elwood. Is just the phenomenal job she's doing there. When we look back at where this team was, the program, was 4 years ago, in the wake of the passing of Craig Brunimer. They played a season with 5 kids and maybe a sixth here and there, but basically 5 kids didn't win a game, and we're on the verge of maybe shutting the program down. And here we are. They're on the verge of maybe clinching a winning record. They're probably 2 or 3 wins away from clinching a winning record for the year. And, they've got a CIC win, which they hadn't done in forever. They win in the county. A couple of CIC wins. So for them to be where they are, she's doing a phenomenal job. And Breland Norris, get this kid a couple pieces around her, and Elwood will be a solid team.
Yes, and unfortunately for them, it doesn't get easy for them on Saturday night in the consolation either because, a young team is going to get a very experienced veteran Alexandria team, and then they're going to happy, right? And then they have to find a way to take care of or handle Jacqueline Hosier. So,
yeah, that will be a tough test, and they're going to have to deal with that a second time. I think they play later in the year as well, regular season in the conference, and that'll be a tough outing. And like you said, Alexandria's not going to be in a good mood. And at least for the first half, they're not going to show Elwood a whole lot of mercy, I wouldn't think.
Well, the good news for Elwood is that they are a lot better. The bad news is they now know that they have a long way to go. That might be good news that they were shown tonight, that they still have a long way to go.
Yeah, as a coach, it helps because, when, we've won this many games, and your school and you got your classmates saying, but you've done this and things like that. Well, and the coaches, when they try to tell players, hey, you can't, you got to listen to us. And that's probably a good thing in some ways tonight. Now, those kids are going to understand they got to listen to coaches. Coaches are going to tell them the truth.
Yeah.
Rob, there was a point earlier in the season where it looked like Frankton was a little lost, maybe?
Yes.
And now it looks like maybe they're not. They completely dominated this one from start to finish.
Yeah, and I thought it's not the strongest competition they're going to see this year, but yes. And I think the last time I saw them was the Daleville game, and they played as badly as a team could play with the lead. They had the lead and just did not play like they knew how to play with the lead. And I've never seen Jeff Bates that out of sorts. He's as calm and as nice as a guy, as a coach, as you're ever going to see. And he was completely upset with his team, very frustrated. And they played differently. They played together. They shared the ball. Layla Dietzer played a phenomenal game at the point guard position. Emma Key shared the ball, hit some shots. The Curtis sisters both played well. Sophia Hoagland, who I keep waiting to show up and have a triple-double. Pretty much every night I come see her play. I think she's got that kind of ability. Had a nice 4 game as well.
Earlier tonight, Michelle and I talked about Frankton head coach Jeff Bates about pretty much all of what Rob just talked about. Congratulations, nice win tonight.
Hey, thanks, Greg. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Jeff, really nice job. It was tight early, but you guys just, I think your relentless pressure and physicality a little bit overwhelmed Elwood. And when I say physicality, I mean basketball is a physical sport. Anybody that thinks it's not,
it sure
you're
is.
Wrong.
Yeah, it is definitely a contact sport, and we tried to get after them a little bit tonight because we knew that if we could put a little pressure out there on them, maybe get some turnovers, jump some passing lanes, we might get some extra opportunities, and it seemed to work early. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it also wore Breland Norris down.
Yeah, and she's a great player. I mean, I think anybody would love to have her on their team. She does a fantastic job as a sophomore. She puts a lot of pressure on you trying to play defense on her. She reminds me a little bit of Hosier back during her younger days, and of course Norris is still young, so we'll see what happens with her.
Yeah, Coach, but you guys shot the ball really well from outside, from 3-point range today.
Yeah, that really helps too. I mean, anytime you can get a few good shots from the 3-point line, it gets that zone that they're playing, expanded and kind of flattens out the zone a little bit more, and then gives you more opportunities inside now.
And Curtis stepped out and knocked down a couple of those threes for you.
Yeah, we've had some nice even scoring the last few games. Ann Curtis did a fantastic job defensively tonight, and I couldn't compliment her enough. And then she steps out and hits a couple big baskets. We have a couple of big rebounds by Macy Curtis on the inside. I think she wound up with 9 rebounds, and we had her for 3 blocks too, so she defended the rim well. And then our little point guard, Layla Dietzer, just really controlled the game, which is what you really want for your point guard. Being a sophomore, she has really stepped up, and we really complimented her after the game. She scored well. She also had 6 rebounds and I think like 5 steals today. So she put some pressure on them too defensively.
Coach, there was a period way back in December where you were a little bit frustrated by the way things were going. Do you feel like you've escaped that?
I think we have. I feel like we've turned a corner, and a lot of the girls are kind of gotten rid of some of those new jitters, you might say, or the newness, and we're starting to get some experience, and that's always huge. And if we can continue that heading into sectional time and into this championship game Saturday, we will be really happy.
So I was going to ask you about Pendleton Heights. Of course, your reward for winning tonight is to get to play Pendleton Heights on Saturday. That presents a lot of different kind of challenges for you, both inside and outside.
Yeah, and they already, we know what we're up against. They play a incredibly difficult schedule. They're playing all the big Indianapolis schools and really testing themselves already in their regular schedule.
You mean you're not deceived by their record?
No, I am not deceived at all. They have a very, very good team. Hupfer's one of the better big posts in the state, and she's just a sophomore. And then, of course, Warfel out front. She's going to make it difficult on anybody she plays against. So, yeah, we'll have our hands full.
Yes, at least you get a day and a half, right? Because you get a practice tomorrow night, and then you can bring them in Saturday morning. We'll bring them in
Saturday morning, and we'll do a walkthrough and go over more stuff. So we should be prepared for them, but we also still aren't delusioned by what we're getting.
Coach, go ahead.
So are you happy with the way your team, of course, I know you played at Kokomo on that Friday after your long break. But are you,
Yeah.
and then coming to this week, are you happy with where they're playing now following the holiday break?
Yes. In fact, like I said, I feel like we have turned the corner. We've added some new stuff offensively and defensively, and they finally feel like they're picking it up. We've played some really good moments against the Kokomo team, which is a really good team. We had them down 20-11 in the first half. Had a few turnovers, had a few empty possessions, and let them kind of get back into it before the half. But it was a great half for us against a quality team. So if we can continue that kind of play through an entire 32 minutes, then we'll be real happy.
My last question is, then I've noticed too from some of the games, it seems like you've developed a little bit more depth, or you can go a little bit
Yes.
deeper than what you were going a month and a half ago.
Yeah. Addie Moore and Laney Hamaker have given us that depth. And they have added a whole lot more to their play, which has really helped us. Addie Moore has a really high basketball IQ. She gets to the right spot. She does all the little things right. Many times we assign her into positions where she's oversized or overmatched, and she has a tendency to outsmart them. And so that's what we have going with her. And then little Layla Farrell, who's been coming in, freshman, and playing some minutes, is just a scrappy player. And she has really started to develop.
Thank you so much for your time, Coach. Had your kids, a couple of your players on the podcast a little earlier. You got to be proud with how well-spoken they are and how polite they are.
And you know,
same with your girls' golf team.
Oh, well, thank you so much. You know, Emma Key was all excited tonight. I don't know if you noticed her big smile. She came out the other night against APA and had 12 assists, which actually tied our school record. So, and I just told her that at the end of this game, and so she was smiling from ear to ear. She couldn't contain herself, and of course me, I couldn't be happier. That means that more people are getting shots because of somebody who's becoming a playmaker. And
Whose
I love
record
that.
did she tie?
I believe Sydney Tucker.
All right.
Well, that's a pretty good name to be.
Yeah, no
Yes,
kidding.
it
Right?
is.
It sure is. So,
Thanks so much for your time, Coach. Always good to see you.
thanks, man. Appreciate it, Greg. Appreciate it, Michelle. Thanks for everything.
Consolation.
Well, Frankton probably, I hate to say this because it's sports, but probably isn't going to win on Saturday. But I think they can probably take a lot out of this experience, getting to a championship game. What could that do for them in the long run, I think?
Precisely what you just said is almost word for word what Jeff Bates said when I talked to him after the game. So, I asked him how excited he was for the opportunity to play in the championship game. He said he wasn't necessarily excited about playing Pendleton Heights, but he's excited that his team's going to be in the championship game and you get that chance. They're going to play it at home, which is going to be fun for them. But yeah, the odds are certainly long against them, but same kind of thing with Ellick, right? They're in that sectional. Yes, Lanaya Wills is in that sectional. Yes, Kenzie Garner's in that sectional with Frankton, but there's not a team in that sectional that has a Casey Warfel and Ada Hupfer and Olivia Jones. It's the same thing as Ellick. So, so what they're going to see tomorrow is going to be as tough a team as they're going to face. It's a 4A school that plays a brutal schedule. You look up and down Pendleton's schedule; it's tough. And
it's a good record for that schedule.
Yes. 11-6 is a pretty good place to be when you're playing that type of schedule. They play the HSEs and Lawrence Centrals and Lawrence Norths and that whole group. Not to mention their whole conference for the most part is pretty tough. So, I think it's going to be definitely a beneficial game for Frankton, no matter what the final score might say on Saturday night.
And I also spoke with Frankton seniors Emma Key and Ann Curtis, and this is what they had to say. Ann Curtis, Emma Key of the victorious Frankton Eagles, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And congratulations, that was quite a win. I think most people were expecting a pretty close game. Why wasn't it?
I think we rotated the ball a lot more than we have in the past, but I think we stayed confident at the beginning of the game, and that's why we got more points in the first half.
Defense too?
Yes.
I think that defensively we talked a lot. We've been working a lot on pushing the ball offensively, and I think that faster motion really just gets us going. Pressing, it really just helps us a lot.
All right, Emma, talk about how well your teammate Ann has been playing here lately.
Oh, she's so good. I can't even describe, actually. Her offense and defense alone, we put her on their best player because we could trust her, and we know that she plays really good defense. So I think her confidence has really skyrocketed over the season. But speaking for the team, I think she's basically our best player.
Oh yeah?
I think so.
Who do you think's your best player? You?
No. No. I think that we all really have great games. I think that I can trust every single one of my teammates out there. I know that our coach will put in who really needs to be out there. I think that everybody works well offensively and defensively. Emma Key really pushes the ball for us, and she helps us stay under control offensively. And then whenever we need a point, we know that we can trust her to get out on the 3, or we can put her in down in the post even to hit that 2. But she's always where we need her to be.
You guys had a bit of a rough stretch early in the season with some losses that you didn't expect. Do you feel like you've come back from that now? And what do you think the difference is between now and then?
I think we have, honestly. I think that one big thing is really just keeping up our pace. Once you get that faster pace, I think that really helps us stay locked in mentally. And I think that's what we really need as a team, to make sure that we're focused all the time and we're pushing the ball, making sure that we're keeping a quick pace. And I think that's what really works best for us.
Emma, you guys, I assume, watched the first game tonight.
We did.
That's an awfully good Pendleton team. What's it going to take?
A lot of confidence, rotating the ball, transition, good defense. I think we just need to shut down their best player, which is Casey Warfel, and just stick to defense, like I said. But, yeah.
It's been 10 years since Frankton's been in the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
What's it mean to you guys to get to this point?
I think it means a lot. I mean, as a senior, that's one of my goals, is to get to a championship. But it feels good. I think.
It feels good. Yeah. It does. It really is. I think it's good to set that tone for our younger kids coming in. We had a couple younger girls get in tonight, and we had a couple of them score. And I think that showing them hey, we can do this really helps encourage them. I know I saw a couple of our junior high and our elementary school girls also here tonight. I think that really just makes an impact on our younger generations.
All right. So congratulations again.
Thank you.
Really proud of you guys as a Eagle myself.
Yes.
And congratulations on the win, and look forward to Saturday and seeing what you guys can do.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Over at Anderson Prep in the consolation bracket, neither score over at APA, neither winner was a surprise, but the way both of them happened was a huge surprise. APA 46, Liberty Christian 41 in overtime, and LaPel 53, Anderson 48. We picked LaPel by 34 points, Rob.
Yeah, first of all, just for my friends at Anderson, I had nothing to do with that pick that Greg is referring to.
No, you did not.
But I was at the Anderson-LaPel game earlier this year when LaPel ran Anderson out of the gym. And for Anderson, and the report I got from a couple folks was that's not a fluke. Anderson played well. So, and that's a team that's had a bad year. There's not many other ways to say it. Coach Boyd will tell you that it's been a rough year, but for them to go out and challenge LaPel like that, keep it close, and Lanaya had her game. I mean, 28 points and 13 rebounds. That's just what she does on a daily basis. It seems like.
We've been saying every day, pretty much, on this podcast that's not a helpless. We were saying winless team when they were winless, not one of those winless teams.
No.
That not helpless, and they, I think, showed that again tonight.
Yeah, they've got some athleticism. They've been dealing with some injuries. I think they had some kids missing at the start of the year. And they're also going to, even when they're healthy, they're going to be relying on some young kids to play. They lost the Starks girl graduated. She's playing down at IU Columbus now, and so they had to replace that scoring. It's been a tough year, but they obviously put up a fight with LaPel tonight.
What a job Liberty Christian did tonight. Just 5 kids to get to overtime with a pretty good Anderson Prep team.
Yeah,
impressive job.
That was apparently at full strength. There was some thought maybe the People's girls didn't play for APA. She did. APA was a full strength. I think that's a testament to what Liberty Christian's doing with the 5 kids that they have. And I know I've mentioned her name on here before, but Serenity Conyers, the freshman there at Liberty Christian, remember the name. She's an absolute star in the making and legit. I mean, She's averaging better, right around 30. I think she had kind of an off day the other game, first game of the county, but she's averaging about 30 a game. And the time I saw her play, it was legit. She can shoot the three. She can get to the basket. She's really good.
Rob, Wapahani's boys, we know their reputation, but their girls are 15-2. Mm-hmm. I know you don't really cover them, but they beat Newcastle tonight, 48-33. Might be and probably is the top contender to Alexandria in that sectional. Tonight, in the 48-33 win, can't remember if I said that, junior Emily Luce had a career-high 20 points. Her career best was 18. Her season best was 16. Senior Bailey Carpenter, 9 points and 7 rebounds. Senior Kimber Abshire, 8 points and 10 rebounds. They will play either Daleville or Cowan, Daleville, in the semifinal round of the Delaware County tournament next week. And Newcastle's 4-11. That's all I have.
Yeah, unfortunately, Alexandria does not play Wapahani during the regular season, so we will have to wait.
That would
for
have been
matchup.
nice to see.
Yeah, we'll have to wait till the sectional time rolls around for that matchup, and I would imagine that will be the. We'll wait and see what the draw looks like when they're going to face.
Yeah, and I
each other.
think Wapahani's hosting it. Am I not right? Is that what somebody told me?
Could be.
Let me look. I got internet.
For whatever reason, I was thinking it was at Alexandria, but I could very well be wrong.
Maybe Wapahani's hosting the boys.
I think Wapahani is hosting the boys now.
Okay.
Alexandria is hosting the girls.
Okay,
yeah.
so
yeah,
all right.
Wapahani is hosting the boys, which is fine. That's going to be a tough one for us to get to. And Wapahani is a really impressive team.
Yes.
That boys basketball team is really good.
So, Rob, real quick, how do you, as you know, because the girls' season, they're just. I mean, the sectional draw is January 26th, and
a couple weeks.
Yeah, I mean, there's really only about 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, 3 weeks left in the girls' season. So, for the teams in Madison County and the teams that you cover, what are you looking for over this last month? What are some of the games that you think will be big games, or teams that you think might be able to put a run together?
Lapel Sheridan, first of all.
Lapel Sheridan is a really that's definitely one of the big games. We want to see what that looks like, because that's Lapel's. This is a new sectional after they were redrawn. So I believe both are sectional champions. Sheridan went to semi-state as well last year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, they did.
Both teams went to semi-state last year. Both teams have their big gun back, but Sheridan is definitely having had a stronger year. I don't have their opponents' records in front of me, but Lapel's played a really tough schedule and has an impressive win at Eastern Hancock. Don't forget that one.
Well, Sheridan did beat Eastern Hancock in their tournament. It was pretty decisive. I mean, Jalen has tried to up their schedule a little bit. I don't think it's quite at the level Lapel plays, but it's not a bad. For me, the advantage that Sheridan has in that is she's got 7 kids back from last year's semi-state team, and I mean they're her top 7, and a lot of seniors that have played together for.
That's a big
while.
deal, man. That's a really big deal, and that's definitely going to be an advantage they're going to have over Lapel, because Lanaya Wills is Lanaya Wills, and she's going to have a big game every night. But who's going to step up? And I think we've been asking that question about Lapel all year. Do they have a second scorer? Yes, they do. But it's not consistent. They don't have somebody who's going to go out there and score 13, 14 a game like a Maddie Pointer did for them last year, or Danae Hazeman did 2 years ago for them. That's how that Lapel was able to get to the state finals and the semi-state. It's one of those lessons you can't be a one-player team. And that's one of the things that's made the difference for Alexandria this year is the play of like a Lily Harp, who's averaging double figures and has become a consistent second scorer for with Jacqueline Hosier. But yeah, that might be the game to circle on a schedule. Certainly one of them. But yeah, another one would be to kind of keep track of what Pendleton Heights does. I think when you start, this is also the time of year you start taking the Sagarin ratings a little more seriously. Early in the year, they can be a little fishy sometimes. Pendleton Heights, team we've already talked at length about today, they are far and away, according to the computers, the favorite to win their sectional. Now, that's nothing new. They've been the favorite to win that sectional more than once here recently, and have come up short. Mount Vernon typically is the boogeyman for them. they may have exercised that demon a little bit by beating them earlier this season, but they're going to have to do it again at sectional. So I think that'll be a big deal for Pendleton if the Arabian ladies can win that sectional.
Well, and I think like New Pal's in that sectional too, right?
No, New Pal's down at 3A now.
Okay.
Yeah, they dropped down to 3A.
Right.
And New Pal, and they're actually head down this year. You look at that sectional, Mount Vernon certainly is a team. Greenfield Central beating Pendleton earlier this year.
It's a weird one.
Well, I was getting ready
year.
to say Greenfield Central. I know their girls aren't where their boys are, but they're not. I mean,
but they lost to Delta, Delta beat them pretty handily.
Yeah, Delta's a lot better.
And Delta's better than but Pendleton beat Delta by, I think it was the final score was one of those. The final score was a lot closer than the game was. So that's one of the more head-scratching defeats that Pendletonites got to figure out what happened there. Anderson's in that sectional. If I don't know if tonight's a sign that they're turning a corner, they're going to be a little more formidable when we get to sectional time. But Pendletonites has got to be the favorite in that sectional. Now, how they play in that role is going to be interesting. Also at the 1A level, we look at that APA sectional where APA, again, computer-wise, is the overall favorite. I mean, that redraw of that sectional really helped APA and Liberty Christian, both the boys and girls, and basketball. And APA's hosting, but Liberty Christian playing really close, taking them to overtime tonight gives me a little moment of pause there. Either way, it would be an incredible story if one of those teams were to break loose and win that sectional. APA, of course, has never won a sectional.
Now, who else is in that section? Because I know Tri-Central moved from that sectional, and now they're still going that way, but they're a little bit farther north.
Yeah, Tri-Central now still has Daleville and Cowan, but I think North Miami's in that, Southwood's in that sectional. But Liberty Christian APA are now in with Tinley and Indiana Deaf and Purdue Poly is one of those, just some really weak schools or really weak teams in their sectional, and that's this is APA's big chance to break loose and win that girls sectional.
Well, I know last year, their very first win in a sectional was against Tri-Central, so I saw that and
their game winner in the sectional championship rimmed out, and they were that close to winning it last year.
Yeah, and I mean of course, I didn't really know them, but it was so much fun to watch them and to watch them celebrate and their fans afterwards. And because, that's tough. That's a long, when you haven't had that win in a tournament like that in a sectional, I mean, it's heartbreaking a little bit. And then for them to get that, and I thought that was great. And I thought Peoples was fantastic last year, and her and another player, and I can't think of her name. And I just thought that
might be Kaylin Orr is who might be thinking of.
Yeah,
she helps in the post. She's a good scorer and rebounder as well.
Rob, Michelle, and I are about to make some picks. You are welcome to keep the microphone on and if you want. But
that's a dangerous game you all want to play.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Danger is our first, last, and middle name.
All right.
Please stay tuned for Greg's and Michelle's quick picks.
You're listening to the Central Indiana Sports Report with your host, Greg Mengel.
We are at Frankton High School tonight in the gymnasium, the Eagle's Nest. And tonight's quick picks are actually going to need to be quick because we're not going to be able to stay here too much longer. Friday's games in the Central Indiana Sports Report coverage area, Michelle and I are going to pick those. As of right now, the score, Michelle, is Greg 58, Michelle 37 in the girls competition. Of course, you lead the boys competition. 9-1 advantage for me on Thursday night.
That's all right. I'll gladly take that because I know I had Alexandria picked, and that was fine with me.
All right. Yes. But a little bit with our hearts sometimes. I picked Pendleton to win by 3 tonight. The Arabians won by 12. Michelle picked Alexandria, so I get 5 points. Michelle picked Frankton to win by more than 1 over Elwood. They won way by more than 1 over Elwood, so she gets the point. I picked LaPel to win by 34. Michelle said more. Neither one of us should be happy to take this point, but I got it. Anderson Prep by 27 over Liberty Christian was our prediction. They won in overtime. Again, I'm embarrassed to take this point, but I'll take it. Michelle said more, by the way.
I did. I just really thought that because they hadn't played a lot of games.
The shorthandedness and all that, yeah. Wapahani, I picked by 18 over Newcastle. Unfortunately for Michelle, she said less. Or she said more, and it was 15, so that one was really close. All right, to tonight's games. Or tonight's games when we... Sorry, Susie. In Friday's games, 6-10 Tri-Central is at 13-1 Sheridan. Sheridan is 4-0 in the conference, and I picked Sheridan by 35.
Yeah, you did, and I know Tri-Central probably played better at Peru on Wednesday night than what they had been playing. That game is at Sheridan, though, and I just think Sheridan, Jadelin's got him, and I know you 35, and that puts it into a running clock. And I think you probably maybe hit that nail right on the head again. So, but I think I will say under. Or I think I'll say over because I think Sheridan played him pretty well and beat him pretty well last year at Tri-Central. And if it was at Tri-Central, I might have gone under, but since it's at Sheridan, I'll say over.
Mississinawa has been playing very well. They are 6-9 after starting 1-5. They're at Manchester, which is 6-10, and I say Mississinawa by a point.
All right. If that was Manchester's boys, it'd be a different story. It's Manchester's girls.
Yes, it is.
I think Mississinawa is actually playing pretty decent right now, and you said a point, so I'll take them by more.
12-5 Kokomo is at 2-13 Logansport, and I have this one right at the running clock as well, 35 points.
The game is at the Berry Bowl. I don't think it's going to matter. I think Haley Peggenpaul's got that group playing really good defense when you listen to what Coach Bates had to say earlier tonight or on Thursday.
Yes, that's
Thursday
a great
night.
defensive team.
Yeah, so I'll say more.
Points are going to be hard to come by for the Berries. Richmond is 7-8, goes to 7-10 Marion. Richmond on top of the North Central Conference. Will it last? I say Richmond by 4.
I think Richmond will win. And I'm going to go more because I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be 6-10.
Lafayette Jeff is 11-4, unbeaten in the North Central Conference. At Muncie Central, which is 7-7, I picked Jeff by 23. Not a lot of great games on Friday night, Michelle.
There's not, and
Go watch a boys' game, people.
That you're going over and possibly weather and different things, and I know that doesn't. But if the weather's not decent, girls can be tense on a bus ride or whatever. I'll say less. I think it's going to probably be double digits, but I'll go less.
Oh, you're
3-14 Taylor is at 9-5 Rossville. Hey, can we just have the coaches play one-on-one and see who wins? That would be fun. But I say Rossville by Jennifer Jacoby and the Rossville Hornets over Tiffany and the Taylor Titans by 33 points.
I'll tell you, Tiffany and Jennifer would both tell you because I know both pretty well and friends with both, but they would both tell you at this age they're not probably up for one-on-one, but they might engage in a game of horse.
By the way, watching the game tonight, Jackie Hosier, I texted you, reminds me a little of Jennifer Jacoby. The way she handles the ball doesn't mind pressure too much, kind of likes it. That kind of thing, those special passes that she throws, that she makes, remind me a lot of Jennifer Jacoby. Jennifer Jacoby was next level, though. Michelle, your pick. I said Rossville by 33 over Taylor.
And the game is at Rossville?
Yes.
Oh, gosh. Conference game is tough. But I know Taylor got beat by Eastern last night. Oh, I'll say more.
And finally, in the Mid-Eastern Conference, 3-11 Cowan goes to 9-5 Daleville. Rob playing really well. I say Daleville by 35.
I'd say that's a pretty safe pick. Coach Joe Wrench has Daleville playing at a very high level. Addie Gothrop is a really good scorer. Olivia Pratcher is a sophomore point guard to watch.
Nice play. Nice player.
Yeah, she can do a lot of things, and she's physical, so she gets some rebounds as well.
Good athletes around her.
Yes, Trishelle Johnson, and some of these girls from other sports that are coming in to play for Joe Wrench is making a difference. You said 35?
I said 30. Yeah, 35.
You can do it for me, Rob. You can say more or
you
less.
can both pick.
I might say I'll say under. It's man, it's tough. It's even a running clock. It's gonna be tough to get there. I think I'll say under. It's still gonna be one-sided, but a little less.
I think I'll go the less too. Just because sometimes when you have that and you have two teams that are in the same sectional, sometimes to be honest, you want to win, but you don't want to win super big because then it's hard sometimes for your, it's hard than the next time you possibly play. Yeah, and it is a rivalry game, so I'll go under. I'm dead.
Thanks, guys. By the way, 24-24 Notre Dame with 13 seconds left. So.
And Notre Dame just intercepted Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State just got to stop, and now Penn State just threw us an interception.
I hope Notre Dame scores on this because I think they got robbed on that
where
pass
is he
interference.
Throwing that ball?
Thanks again, guys. We're now going to talk a little boys basketball. Hey, please go listen to our boys basketball picks. That's segment 143.1. Michelle and I are going to continue to make picks, but we are going to change the format a little bit, and I think we might start over, but we'll talk about that, and got a lot of new things coming. Been trying to put things into perspective here and how I can be most effective at bringing Central Indiana sports to you in hopefully entertaining way. Thanks again to Rob and Michelle for joining me and talking some high school basketball. Thanks also go to Pendleton Heights head coach Nick Rogers. Made his Central Indiana Sports Report debut tonight. Look forward to getting to know him and his players in the coming weeks and years. Thanks also to Frankton's Jeff Bates, Ann Curtis, and Emma Key. And thank you for listening. Please go like, subscribe, or follow us. And help us out by telling a friend about the Central Indiana Sports Report. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.